Sweet. All right, we're doing this live. I have tried this like 2,000 million times, and it has been a roller coaster ride of fun, cavalcade of fun, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I'm Dr. Fresh Hour, Tanner Fresh Hour, and this is my first live stream ever for the Fresh Start live stream. I'm going to be doing these every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. other than today because it took a very long time to figure out how to make everything look all right, and it still just looks kind of decent. Remember, I'm a doctor, I'm not an editor. I don't know how to do a lot of this stuff, but I'm learning. So here we go. Let's check out my actual website for a minute. And while we check this out, for the purposes of this first live stream, I just want you guys to see my website. And then we're going to go into a little bit of detail of how all this is going to work and what we talk about every morning on Saturday at 8 a.m. So here we go. Here is this website I've made. I've never made a website before, ever, so bear with me here as far as what it looks like. It's going to be improving, obviously. I made this in like a day and a half, so it's going to load a little slow. But anyway, we have a little introduction page for me. For plans, these are my 2 plans that involve talking to me. And this is my basic body preparation plan that I do for everybody. So essentially, this is the plan that everyone that I ever work with ever starts with, and we change it, edit, modify it, and individualize it for you. And I've had a lot of questions about, why am I paying $60 a month or $100 a month? So the $60 a month plan, you get to talk to me every other week for 20 minutes. It might be 30 minutes. I'm not going to like hold you to it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a doctor. So we're going to basically talk about your progress. You might be doing a food diary that week. Maybe you're not doing a food diary. Maybe we're talking about exercise. Whatever we're talking about, your goals, your expectations, your concerns, anything that needs addressed, that's what we're going to be talking about. So 20 minutes every other week, roughly, an hour of my time. Not to mention all the work I'm going to be doing for you that when we're not talking online, I'm going to be able to talk to you via text or email. The $100 a month, we talk every single week. So that would be 20, 40, 60, 80 minutes. You're talking to an MD. And I'm going to be able to address almost every single question and concern that you have in regards to your health, your wellness, your weight loss, helping you manage your chronic conditions and overcoming any obstacle you might, come to face. Most people turn these mountains into, or these molehills into mountains, stuff like that, whatever metaphor you want. So in regards to the pricing and how much it is per month, I get that it might seem a little bit extreme. However, I highly doubt you'll ever find one more consolidated source of information. And I need to put food on the table, and I want to reach as many people as I can, which is why I'm going to be doing this live stream. But in regards to the actual individualized plans, we're going to be going over where you are that week and the week before, depending upon if you're in the basic premium plan. I'll keep track of all the questions and concerns you have throughout the week, and we'll be addressing them. I'll be documenting them. And yeah, so it's a little bit more individualized. And I personally like this a lot more than, just if you get my basic plan up here, this body preparation plan. Let's just let this load. So it's a list of 7 things. I have a lot longer list of things that I like, but this is the basic list. And to most people, this seems like, oh man, these are just things that I do most of these anyway. And a lot of the people that I work with, they say they do all of these things, but once you actually break it down and they start, evaluating it, I don't really necessarily always get 7 hours a night. Sometimes I go to bed at the same time. I've done it before, so that counts, right? It's like, no. And then as far as drinking water, this is, rather than go into this, you can read my explanations where I kind of break these down a little bit more. The point is, I don't really think unless you're doing these 7 things, it's really worth moving on, and as far as meeting with me one-on-one, we're not just going to be talking, hey, are you doing these 7 things? We're going to be talking about ways that you can actually incorporate these into your life. So if you're struggling with no snacking, we're not just going to go from if you're a snacker, which almost every single person is, despite what you say, I mean, I used to do it quite a bit. Um, we won't just go from that to nothing. We'll figure out ways to slowly back away from the habit and eventually get you into a situation where you're just eating and not eating. Um, and it's my personal belief that is exactly how we are intended to be, especially if you're overweight. Your insulin sensitivities, cortisol sensitivities, basal levels of those hormones, your leptin, your ghrelin, and the sensitivity of those. Basically, if I'm full or hungry, they're off. If you're overweight, a lot of that's off. So this is a very good reset plan. And I've had people say, this isn't really a plan. This is kind of just like a how you should be living. But, you know, not very many people are living like that. Over 70% of the United States, uh, over the age of 20, I believe, might even be 75% now, they're overweight. So over 70% of all adults are failing at this. So whenever I get told, you know, hey man, you're charging way too much money for all of this, I don't really understand. I'm not a personal trainer, I'm just a doctor. But if you want to start, you know, switching your conversation to be more about exercise, working out, being in the gym, I can help you with that. Probably just as much, if not more, than any personal trainer you'll ever meet, unless you're, you know, spending hundreds of dollars an hour to talk to them. Um, I don't have a PhD in kinesiology, but I've studied it, studied biomechanics. I've studied a lot of information that could help you. So while the initial plan is a body preparation and wellness plan, and this is a weight loss and wellness website, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. I just want you guys to know that I'm able to help you with just about any question or concern that you could ever get answered when you go into the doctor's office. I'm not going to prescribe you medications, but at the same time, I'm allowed to give you my opinion, and I'm representing myself here. So on my website, granted, I am hired by a couple other places. On here, on my live stream, I'm allowed to give you whatever opinions I want. And if you're not a basic or premium member, you can email me questions and maybe I'll answer them on the next live stream and we'll talk about it. I might not go into as much detail or depth because that wouldn't be fair to the members that I have and the clients that I have. But anyway, just giving you guys a little bit of an idea, you know. So I have people do this. Let's see. When I go into the explanations just give you a little bit more detail as to why you might be doing what you are doing. When you click the video section of the website, the video section is going to have my latest vlog, which is basically, you know, whenever I upload a rant. The live stream, this is where this one will go. And then here's some older videos. Those will populate again, you know. Anyway, so article section. I've been messing around with blogs and the blog section, it was a little clunky and I haven't found the one that I want. So I had to make this from scratch. And these are the 4 categories most of the things that I talk about in this world will be. And I'll have a most recent section where you can look at this. So for instance, the morning routine. This is just a little article I made where I talk about the importance of a morning routine. I give you a little summary at the bottom. So if we go back to the lifestyle articles, here's another one, the pitfalls and struggles of weight loss, where I was going through the questionnaires from my last 6-week program. And I kind of talk about a few of the things that happened. Anyway, and insert, you know, shameless plug here. I just graduated from medical school. I am a doctor. I have loads of debt like you could possibly, I mean, I probably can't even imagine. So if you don't want to apply to the basic or premium program, but you'd like to help me out, help out this channel, help out my business that I'm starting, feel free to donate anything, you know, it doesn't matter how much it is. I feel extremely uncomfortable asking for donations, but I do realize how much interest people have in this and the idea of it. So, you know, I have it all set up. So if you just like to donate $1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, go for it. It all goes to me and helping me upgrade, you know, my presentation software, my hardware, and my ability to live. So, now that we've talked about the website a little bit, I have a mailing list set up here. I'm going to start sending out weekly, we'll call them newsletters, where I might post some new articles, update you guys on anything that I've done on the website. If I've uploaded any videos that week or plan to, those will be on there. It is through a service provider where you can unsubscribe if you want to, but I'll also be emailing you and letting you know whenever I go live. So if that's something you're into, cool. If it's not, that's totally fine. But essentially, this live stream link isn't going to change, and I'll be streaming every morning at 8 a.m. So that is basically my website that I've started. Um, and now it's only been 10 minutes. So I guess we're going to just have a little bit of a chat. I have had some very interesting things happen the last few weeks as I decided, I got my MD December 18th was when I officially was told, hey, you graduated. The diploma's still in the mail. I started applying to a lot of different jobs. I was declined from like 40 or 50 jobs because I was overqualified. I don't even know what that means. I've been a student forever. Um, I had a lot of jobs say, hey, we're looking for a nurse, not necessarily an MD. I'm like, cool. I I still don't understand why that doesn't mean I can have the position. Nothing against nurses or anything like that. I just thought it was kind of silly that I'm applying for all these different, health coach and weight loss positions and things of that nature. And I'm being declined. Uh, I'm literally throwing myself at the world to try to help them with anything that they would like help with. And I just keep getting told no. So I was on the phone not too long ago with one of my friends. And she was just like, hey, make a website. I said, you know what? I'm going to make a website. And boom, I made a website. Doesn't look super pretty right now, but it's going to look real pretty. It's going to look so pretty. Yeah, you can call, text this for any information. You can email this email right here for any more information. I'll probably say that the most I'll be updating is the articles and the like the previous videos and live stream section. I'll be working on how to make this look better. Um, Having the live chat and being able to respond to you guys. The donation link, that's pretty easy. As far as how the plans are going to work once you contact me, um, and we set it up, I don't have the automated billing set up just yet, but I'm not really going to be taking on a ton of clients. So I will be sending out reminders. You're just basically going to go on here and hit the donate button again to take care of the payment. It's not a big deal. Super simple. So now let's see. Let's talk about a little bit of the type of. Let's talk about the type of content we're going to have on this live stream. So this live stream is going to primarily focus on weight loss and wellness, and we're going to talk about chronic conditions, how to manage them, what they are, what they really mean, maybe some pathophysiology. It's just basically a word of saying what's actually wrong and how it's wrong. Help you visualize some things. For some examples, we'll talk about blood pressure or hypertension, same thing. Talk about diabetes, prediabetes. That affects almost everybody who's overweight. Metabolic syndrome, which is a combination of those two, some waist circumference and some other lab values. Talk about cholesterol. We can talk about diet. What are good fats? What are bad fats? Does it actually even matter? Oils. What oils you should cook with? When are they carcinogenic? Talk about carcinogens. We're literally going to address all kinds of things from this live stream. One really big hobby of mine is exercise, and I love talking about the biomechanics and of exercise. Like the movement patterns themselves, how to make your workouts as quick and efficient as possible. And we're not all athletes. I mean, I played baseball in college, but I'm not necessarily an athlete anymore. So how do I make my workouts translate into real life? That is another topic I'm super interested in, and I would love to share it with you guys. I actually can't wait. I will. I will. Um, and for those of you wondering, if even if I only have a few viewers on this live stream, I'm not. I'm primarily here for the individualized one-on-one content, being able to work with people face to face, in person, on the phone, on Zoom, FaceTime, however you want it. I love that. The live stream part is something that I get really nervous about. Um, I'm not necessarily shy, but public speaking, whew, terrifies me. So as we progress through all of this, it's going to be a little bit of a journey for everybody, me included. So the videos will keep getting better. I'm really excited to kind of compare how this goes from this first video, down the road as the weeks progress. Um, and where this journey takes us. So some last points. Again, none of this is scripted. Probably should be, but I was struggling so much to get this started. I didn't really get to do that. I guess some closing points. I don't want you guys to ever feel like you're going to hear or have false promises from me. So my basic body preparation plan and program, if everybody just did that, exactly what I said, they would be able to achieve the weight loss in the body that they want. Granted, if they need to put on a substantial amount of muscle mass, we'd obviously need to incorporate some form of resistance training. It's really hard to grow muscles without anabolic agents if you're not exercising. If you just want to load up with steroids, you probably have some other issues, but your muscles would definitely get bigger with minimal exercise. That's proven. But what I do want to get across here, I'm not going to say biohack or any of these other hack marketing terms, because that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. If you search biohack on Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever you want to use, depending upon who you are and your privacy settings and what you believe in, there's millions of articles about that. Everybody wants to sell you a silver bullet. Everybody wants to somehow, in one form or another, get you to spend your money for something that doesn't exist. And if it does exist, it's not a biohack or a silver bullet. It's just physiology. And it seems really complicated, and it is sometimes, but our bodies are really simple. It's just the sum of all these different stimuli, like all these different cause and effect. There's a reaction to every stimuli. And if you want a very big response, you need an equal or greater stimulus, right? So people they throw these terms around like biohack, and it blows me away. There's not really a biohack, you know? One biohack would be going into the sauna. I think if you go 5 to 6 times a week for at least 20 minutes, I'm talking about a dry sauna, you can reduce your all-cause mortality in certain subsets of the patients and subjects that they did by up to 40% or 45%. If I need to talk about it, I can pull it up. Some people say like, oh, check out this biohack of the sauna. It's like, no, we don't necessarily know why. It could be due to the HSPs or heat shock proteins, which are these little chaperone proteins that are really important during times of stress, like infection, energy depletion, starvation, all kinds of stuff like that. But I just don't want you to, I feel like part of the reason why they use these terms is because it's like, rather than explain to you guys what's actually going on here, so you have another understanding of something, I'm just going to throw a term and you need me for that term, that service. You need me for that. So if I don't have to explain it in any detail really whatsoever, now you just view me as like this almost, I don't even know, like this savant that's going to just bring you this information that's like unheard of. You know, our physiology hasn't changed in tens of thousands of years, really. So, I mean, I guess maybe, you know, there might be more or less lactose intolerant people, something like that. I don't know. But in regards to our actual physiology, we haven't really changed all that much. So all these biohacks and stuff, it's just like something that people have found out naturally over the course of time. Very few of them are peer-reviewed. We can talk about the peer-reviewed nature of recommendations and who controls them, the pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. That's a little more tinfoil hatty. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to kind of just talk about everything. I'm going to be asking people for questions until I start getting them sent in. So I'll do a little bit of my own content. And then for the rest of the videos, I'll just be addressing questions. And that's really why I became a doctor in the first place. Because, you know, there's this huge fear in our lives, which in my opinion, the greatest source of fear is the fear of the unknown. And I had an event happen when I was a kid. And I didn't know what to do. Nobody else knew what to do. And it was related to health. And it scared me to death. So I grew up and I was like, man, I really want to know what to do in these situations. How do I know what to do? I guess I'll become a doctor. And then I went through medical school and I absolutely despised all these algorithmic, let's just say the algorithmic nature of care. If this, do that. If that, do this. It kind of removes intuition in a sense. You do things so you don't get sued, and you do things in a certain order so that when you do get sued, you can fall back and your insurance covers it. And unless something is approved by the various organization of that organ system, you know, like OB or whatever that field of care is, you can't really do it and get away with it Um, and, I guess it's a little bit of a tangent. All I'm saying is part of being here is I have no problem with saying I don't know or let's figure that out or I'll figure that out. Whenever you go to your doctor and you say you want to lose weight, there is the predominant theory of weight loss is the caloric theory. So you want to consume less than your body burns, and eventually you'll lose weight. Assuming your body is an idiot and there's zero adaptations whatsoever. Look at certain populations that run and move every single day, and their basal metabolic rate's actually super low. When you look into the efficiency of your gut, which we just are now in the last decade acknowledging the fact that our gut is extremely important for like our psychology, our immune health, things of that nature. It's like we don't absorb all the calories that we eat. And let's say you've been the same weight for 10 years. Are you telling me that you've ate or that you have eaten? Sorry, grammar Nazis out there. Not sure if I'm allowed to use the N word here. Anyway, are you telling me that you've ate without a perfect balance throughout the course of those years to never have gained or lost a pound? Is there any type of set point? You can reference Dr. Jason Fung's research. He's a nephrologist who's brilliant, did a fasting documentary on Netflix where he talks about the body's set point and weight. We can talk about that. Super cool information, super fun to think about. I just like to think. I like to be deep in thought, but I also make sure I do everything that I tell everybody to do. I've never made a recommendation to somebody that I haven't tried. For instance, I talk about fasting a lot. I experimented with fasting a lot the last few years, just regular old intermittent fasting, the 16-8, 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. I did 20 and 4. I did the alternate day fasting, a variation of that where I just had one meal a day. And due to my stomach's receptive relaxation, which is a nice, fun physiologic term to look up in Google, I could eat a lot in one meal and I felt amazing. It's not necessarily culturally sustainable because everyone around you thinks you're weird for doing it. So, one really cool topic we can talk about is the more you kind of adjust the stimuli you introduce to your body, the better it responds. I don't think it's realistic to never have fast food or greasy food or heaven forbid you have a Coke or a beer, liquid bread. I just think the more stimuli that you introduce to your body, the better it gets at responding to them, right? So I can have a cheeseburger. I don't feel like crap. If you take a vegan, sorry to use the V word, a vegetarian, or somebody who eats ultra clean, and you give them something super greasy, most of them feel terrible. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The food's making you feel bad. But I'm a big believer in your body should be able to respond and adapt to whatever you throw at it, at least pretty well. If you're not this ultra active person and you go out like me a few days ago and shovel the driveway for like 8 hours, you're going to feel like crap, right? But, depending upon how you work out, I like full body exercises. I go through the basic, there's like 6 or 7 different basic movement patterns. I make sure I hit those. My cardiovascular conditioning is all right. I think cardio is silly and stupid. It's not necessarily stupid, sorry, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I hate it. I had too much of it in college, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I shoveled the driveway for 8 hours. I was a little sore, and then I was fine, you know? So obviously, whatever I'm doing in my life worked. It worked. I don't really sleep that much, maybe 6 hours a night. But when I sleep, I get restful sleep. How do I get restful sleep? Well, I limit blue light on my phone, on my computer screen. I make sure that I'm pretty secured or swaddled via pillows. I don't necessarily do a weighted blanket or anything like that. Sleep in particular positions that have a neutral spine, just like I do when I exercise. And lo and behold, my sleep is nice and restful. So I don't necessarily need 8 or 9 hours because when I only get 6, there's 6 good hours of sleep. I don't snooze. I've trained myself that whenever my alarm goes off, I'm awake. Whenever I don't feel like doing life that day, I fall back on my routine or autopilot. And there's a lot of wellness and health coaches out there who tell autopilot's a bad thing. It's like, really? It's a bad thing? Why does every single professional athlete practice almost every single day so that whenever they get to the World Series, the Super Bowl, whenever you have all these people and our brains physically can't process this, maybe unless you're Tom Brady, who's like amazing, right? I'm not a super big football fan. Don't shoot me for that. All those reps. You can't tell me that reps don't help. Repetition, 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 right? Every morning when I get up, I go make coffee. I let the dogs out. I let them go pee. I do some reading. Maybe you read your Bible. Maybe you pray. Maybe pray. Maybe you meditate. Also, side note, that's okay to talk about here too. So I don't really care what your religious beliefs are. I'm not a very judgmental person in that respect. I view, religion, meditation, de-stress, relaxation, they're all kind of in the same category. So if you have any problem with me ever talking about that kind of stuff, maybe not the place for you. I'm not really big on body shaming, fat shaming. Also not super big on body acceptance. I think everybody should be super comfortable and confident in their own skin, but I don't feel like you should be okay with being unhealthy or having a chronic health condition like obesity. I mean, you should be like, hey, this is me. I'm owning this. But you also need to have the understanding and responsibility that you did this to yourself. And if you are in the very small percentage of people that didn't do this to themselves, you need to own that too. And be like, look, this is where I am, but I'm going to get better. I get so tired of all these crutches that everybody carries around with them everywhere they go about every single condition that they have. And it almost hurts them more than it helps them, like, I know I'm going to go on a super big tangent right here, but I recently had a client in one of my weight loss programs. And this person's really nice. This person's really sweet. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. However, whenever we went through, I'll just to give you guys a little bit of a visual. It's my first live stream, so sorry. There's not really a super big agenda here. We're just kind of going to be going through the motions until I get the hang of all this. Okay, here's my list. This person, super nice, super amazing, super sweet. I'm not setting you up for a backhanded, compliment, whatever. Maybe this is passive aggressive. I'm not really sure. So as far as sleeping 7 hours a night, they didn't do that. They said that they tried to have a mandatory bed night and tried to sleep 7 hours a night, but in their mind, that was okay. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, just because you know something that just because you know what you should be doing and you're not doing it, doesn't mean that you're doing it. And it was really hard to tackle that. A lot of people really struggle with sleep. And it's like, okay, well, you only have sleep and sex in your bed. How many of you do that? Everyone's like, well, I really only sleep. I don't really have sex. Maybe I do, but that's all I really do. Oh, you know what? I'm also on the TV sometimes in my bedroom. Got my laptop on, got my phone on. Maybe I'm reading a book. Sometimes there's lamps on next to my bed. Why do we even have lamps by our bed? It's so silly. I do, but I'm just saying, if you're struggling with sleep, you really need to train your body. We act like we're like this ultra complex, amazing apex being. But at the same time, if you get into your bed and all you do is either sleep or have sex in your bed, when you get into your bed, if you're not having sex, you'll go to sleep. Like, it's a fact. It happens, okay? And you guys can roll your eyes and judge me all you want at that. But it is a fact. Do it. Only have sex or sleep in your bed. Do not get on your phone. Do not watch TV. Do not read. Do not do anything else in your bed besides those two things. And after a little while, you'll start going to sleep. I promise. Amazing. Okay. And in regard to water, people are always like, drink all X ounces of water a day. So whenever you look at actual literature and research in regards to how much we drink every day, most people drink enough like stuff every day, enough fluids. We consume enough fluids every single day. We just don't necessarily have enough water, right? And if you have like make coffee, it's kind of like cancels out a little bit. It's a little bit of a diuretic, but I like caffeine a lot. It helps me do what I need to do. So for instance, you have a cup of coffee. You then have a glass of water. 1-to-1. Drink 1-to-1. Water to everything else. And in almost every single person, client, learner I've ever helped, they now have the recommended amount of water. Bam. 1-to-1. Super simple. Don't have to talk about numbers, another thing to track. I'm all about principles. I hate tracking details. So let's see. Eat more real food. Anything that is a plant or an animal, or anything that is green or used to have a face on it. If you follow that, it's really hard to mess up with your diet. Now, I know some people are like, whatever, I could probably figure out a way to be fat and do that. Super hard. It's really, really, really hard because you're eliminating processed foods for the most, well, the majority of processed foods. And processed foods, if you want to get down to it, are probably the biggest contributor to obesity and chronic health conditions in the world, in the world, in the world. But I don't want you to think that if you work with me, we're never going to be able to have processed foods again. But your body, if you're trying to lose weight and feel better every single day, it's not great right now. And I'm not just going to improve your body like, the exterior of it, because you can look at bodybuilders. Those people are some of the most unhealthy people on the planet. They're like the opposite end of the spectrum, If we're just talking about a standard curve, I'm really talking about the center of it. So what I'm saying by this, by eating more real food, anything that was a plant or an animal, you're going to restore a lot of, like, for instance, let's just say this. Your body's trying to get back to normal. Your body's trying to be healthy. It doesn't like to be fat. It doesn't like to have all this inflammation going on. It doesn't like all these autoimmune conditions that are going on. Granted, I'm not telling you it can reverse type 1 diabetes or something like that. Definitely could make it better. Or your seasonal allergies and things like that too. Definitely can make those a lot better. Maybe even alleviate them completely. We'll see. Definitely has happened. So when you eat more real food, let's just say you only eat real meat and real plants. I don't care if you're a vegetarian. If you're a vegan, great. I enjoy the fact that you're going to have to supplement whatever you eat with fortified minerals and vitamins to actually sustain that diet for like the vast majority of them. But I totally understand the spiritual, cultural reasons behind it. And I think it's really awesome that you made a decision to follow that, because most people can stick to anything that we want to do. So the fact that you're sticking to that in and of itself is awesome. But I don't agree with that diet at all. I think it's really weird that you have to supplement whatever you're eating with other, like whatever the food you're eating has to be fortified or supplemented with vitamins and minerals to actually sustain your body. I don't really understand how that diet is considered better. Anyway, so let's say you're eating really only animals and plants, vegetables, fruits. If you're real bad, I mean, people lose weight on potatoes, but at the same time, the more you cook them and add butter and all this kind of stuff to it, it's just a starch. When you break starches down, there's sugars. But stepping way back here, that's a really good place to start, right? And now, depending upon how diabetic you are, if you are diabetic, no breakfast. A lot of people roll their eyes at me. A lot of people grew up, I did, with breakfast being considered the most important meal of the day. You had all these, research articles and stuff talking about, your mental focus and acuity and blah, 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 blah without breakfast, trying to really crack down, showing that breakfast really isn't the most important meal of the day. You know what the most important meal of that day is? What you ate the day before. Because you eat for tomorrow, not for today. You sleep for tomorrow, not for today. You do a lot of the stuff for the day that you're living in the day before in preparation for that day. Like they talk about with track athletes, let's carb load for tomorrow. You don't carb load that day. Not necessarily like you need a carb load anyway. But that's kind of out of my scope, or out of the scope of this conversation. So I tell people stop eating breakfast. And it's kind of got a lot of different reasons why. By saying no to breakfast for at least a little while, you're increasing your fast. When you increase your fast, your body's going to improve its sensitivity to the hormones that naturally or circadianly, they regulate your body. Your insulin sensitivity, the more you fast, will increase. Your body sensitivity to cortisol will increase. And by fasting, you're actually increasing your cortisol. But whenever you look at the actual, let's see how to go into this without going into this in too much detail. When you look at the cortisol profiles and sensitivity to cortisol and the responses from cortisol with people who fast, yes, their cortisol is elevated, but the response isn't necessarily the same in people who don't fast. I will probably need to post some articles about that at some point to make that a little bit more clear. It's kind of one of those roadblocks from getting the information out of my head and my mouth to you. Anyway, the no breakfast for now, it is just as much as a habitual behavior that I like to introduce as it is to improve your hormone sensitivities to the food and your daily life. And it also, I'm a big fan of just removing this like, I don't know, we like idolize food so much in our lives. Like we have to be thinking about it. If we're not eating food, we're thinking about food. We have a birthday. What do we think about the birthdays? Cake, ice cream. You don't really think about, hey, let's celebrate this person's life. Thanksgiving, but depending upon, what your thoughts are of history and stuff like that, don't really talk about that or give thanks too much. We think about turkey and ham and gravy and stuffing. Like, we just food. It's just food, 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 food. And if you think that that's a mistake, it's not, by the way. Like, that's not a mistake. That's totally the way it's supposed to be. The fact that our entire lives and culture and everything revolve around food, and we have an obesity epidemic that's way worse than COVID, like, probably shouldn't say that. Hopefully it's okay. Um, that's not random. It's not random. Doctors, PhDs, people in medicine, physiology, all these different we all know why we're fat. And it'd be really easy to fix it. If everybody just did the stuff on this list, I bet if we just made every single American the entire, like, I mean, let's say that it was feasible. Within a year or two, I bet I could cut the numbers maybe down 3/4 instead of all the people that maybe take out 75% of them, maybe, unless there were some people that were really fighting me on stuff. Anyway, it's really not hard. The only thing that's hard is the accountability, the consistency. But this is it. This is all you really have to do. I'm here to be your accountability. Whenever you ask questions that you can't really figure out the answer for, or when you think you know what you're talking about, which sometimes I'm totally wrong, I'm there to tell you, like, no, this is why you need, this is why. You say, man, I think I'm doing all this. I think I'm doing all this. Why aren't I losing weight? I'm going to tell you. And if I can't tell you right then and there, I'm going to look it up and figure it out, and then we'll have that conversation. And I've never failed. I have never failed somebody. Anybody who's ever done, even just, 51% of what I've said, they've all had amazing results. So when you wake up, you have a glass of water. That one's weird. It seems really weird. Water is not necessarily like coffee. It takes a little bit longer to kick in, right? But let's say, we'll just go with guys, for instance. Apologize for my pronoun usage there, but you go pee, have a glass of water. By the time you make it to the coffee maker, even if it's like an automatic thing, you will start to feel so much more alert and awake. And since, depending upon what study you look at, there's some UK studies show like 90% of people are dehydrated. Just like having that glass of water in the morning will make your day so much better than if you just had coffee. Have coffee and water, whatever. Start your day with a glass of water. It'll change your life. Swear to goodness. 15 or 5 to 10 minutes stretching. Now I say stretching there, but in reality, it's just more like a body awareness. It doesn't have to be stretching. It can be mobility, and stretching and mobility aren't necessarily the same thing. And we can talk about that too, because that's a really big misconception between flexibility and mobility. But I like people to spend 5 or 10 minutes just doing something, moving somewhere, doing something, dancing, whatever. Some type of body awareness in some way, shape, or form. I don't even really include exercise on this, but I love to incorporate it. But at the same time, it's just like, these are things I really think need to be taken care of first. You got to really prime your body before you exercise, so that way you're not just some other guy who walks around saying, I would do that exercise, but I hurt my back in '84. And if you did hurt your back in '84, we can totally fix it. Stop going to certain physical therapists and chiropractors without talking to me first. What controls bones, muscles? Go to the chiro, they just align you, and most of them don't even address the underlying muscle adhesions, ligaments, tendons, all the scar tissues that keep pulling those bones back in. Never mind. The last one is really hard. And if most people just did this last one, they would probably, I don't like to deal in absolutes. I do it subconsciously. But we'll say this. If everybody just stopped snacking, you only ate meals or nothing at all, almost everybody across the board would lose weight, especially if you skip breakfast and you fast. And it's super interesting. I've had so many people tell me that they're not stackers. But then, whenever you actually look at their diary, their food diary, if you have them do it, which I like to have people do, or, if they're honest enough with themselves and a little bit critical, they'll be like, you know what? Holy crap, I was snacking like crazy. But my snacks were superfoods. They were superfoods. Almonds, nuts. Some of the most calorically dense things are superfoods. We always think about all the vitamins and minerals associated with superfoods, but a lot of them are super calorically dense. Other than blueberries, maybe. I don't know why that's a superfood. Blackberries are better in every single way. Popcorn has just as much antioxidants as those, to be honest. It's kind of a fact. not really talked about too much, especially when you get into like there's certain ways of treating popcorn and other antioxidants in popcorn to make it more bioavailable, which would be super awesome. So like actually bread I think is like the worst thing in the world. It tastes amazing and beer tastes amazing. But bread is like one of the most pointless things in the world, and liquid bread beer, one of the most pointless things in the world, especially trying to lose weight. But you could totally lose weight by having bread and beer too. There is a way to um, you either make someone have an like take an enzyme pill, or you fortify the bread and beer with it, and it actually makes the antioxidants in the bread and beer more bioavailable. Super cool, and makes it a lot more nutritious than it should. Can you imagine having antioxidants from beer? Anyway, I feel like we're at 40 minutes now. That's probably enough for my first live stream ever. Um, in the future, there's going to be a little bit more structure. I'm going to have a topic that I want to shoot back and forth, depending upon how much interaction I can get. And then I'll go into the questions. And then when I send out the newsletters, I'll talk about some of the questions that I answered and maybe even throw some timestamps up there. But yeah, this was my first live stream, and I finally figured out how to do it. Wanted to do it from 8 to 9. It wasn't from 8 to 9. But anyway, I'm Dr. Fresh Hour, Tanner Fresh Hour, Dr. Fresh, whatever you want to call me. Check out startfreshmd.com. Donate. If you guys want to donate, hate asking for that, but I just have to right now. And you know what? That's part of my humble pie. I'm still accepting people for my plans. I'm not like a huge commercial business. I can't accept, hundreds and hundreds of people yet anyway. So I like to keep things more individualized. I know a lot of you love going to the doctor, waiting for an hour and only getting to spend 10 minutes with them. But that's not really how I operate. And that's why I'm doing this in the first place. So I don't just have to go to residency and just get on board and just perpetuating this cycle that makes nobody better. I'm not a big fan of prolonging an unhealthy, like so much of modern medicine now. It's just like, you don't really get better, but you just stay alive. I think that's silly. It's so wrong. It's so obvious how to fix all of these issues that people have, but you have doctors that are afraid to actually tell people what to do because they don't want to get sued. And then you have people that are afraid to actually take accountability for what they do, and they just want a pill or something like that. Granted, there's a lot of pills that can do a lot of amazing things. But anyway, you're not going to get the magic bullet, silver bullet, whatever you want. Yeah, you're not going to get this like, oh, you just do this and all your problems will go away. However, if you just do these things right here and you do them well, maybe we have to tweak it a little bit depending upon who you are in your life and what your circumstances are. You'll feel better. You'll lose weight. You'll feel so much better. And that's the part that's so hard to market. But all right, guys, I will see you next week. Thank you for bearing with me, and hopefully you enjoyed this. And the next one will be